Hi, I'm Johnny B., the Autistic Apologist, and welcome to Autism in the Faith, my series on how to deal with the Christian experience if you happen to be autistic, have ADHD, or are otherwise neurodiverse. Greetings to any new people here today. I hope you enjoy my content. I don't think today's video is going to be nearly as long as the last one, at least I hope not. And I cut the last one short. I just can't talk that long. I believe I've mentioned this before, but a couple of years ago I had an illness which damaged my vocal cords, and talking for an extended period of time is stressful. So, I know some people on the YouTube that will talk for 2 or 3 hours, but not me. Anyway, today's episode is going to be advice for going to church when you might have special needs relating to autism or ADHD. And, I think you'll agree with me that social situations are the worst. And what is church, if not a large social gathering? A lot of people think of church as a big building, but as I covered in previous episodes of this channel, it's really us, those of us who have committed ourselves to the cause of Christ. And it's clear in the scripture that the Lord wants us to meet together. But that's hard, especially if you're autistic. So what do? Well, obviously you just can't set aside your autism. But another thing you shouldn't do, I don't believe, is make your autism an excuse for not even trying to meet with other Christians. We're warned in the book of Hebrews not to make it a habit of not meeting together, as I mentioned last time. And we all know that Jeremiah said, "The heart is wicked above all things, and who can know it?" So you can easily deceive yourself into believing that you're not making excuses for it when you actually are. I know I've done that many times. On the other hand, the third hand? Anyway, you shouldn't condemn yourself if you're simply not able to go. If you want to go but you just can't, then don't condemn yourself, because the Lord knows your heart. So, what can I tell you? What things can you do that might help you? Now, first thing, probably the most important thing I would recommend is pray about it. Pray before you go, and pray continually, as Paul wrote. Pray continually while you are there. Be in a prayerful mindset, and I believe God will go before you just as He did for those Israelites in the wilderness. Another thing that you can do is go with a friend or a family member. This might help if you are someone like me who has difficulty with time blindness, or other executive dysfunction issues, to keep you on track when your mind wants to wander off somewhere else. There also might be a lot of interactions that you might not be comfortable with. Having someone who understands you run interference for you would help you a lot. They can help introduce you, especially if you're nonverbal or prefer to be, and explain how they can accommodate you. And if they see you're getting uncomfortable, they can help guide you away from whatever is negatively affecting you. Be open about your autism. It's not something you need to hide. Some churches are more aware than others that there are people with special needs in their congregation or visitors. Some people are more, some congregations are a little more accepting than others. Everyone's going to be different. They may have special programs or protocols in place for people with needs like yours. Or they may actually have staff who have autistic family or friends, and that can help them understand you better. If that's the case, letting someone know will help you be more comfortable in the long run, I think. I would, however, advise against any church that tries to treat your autism as an evil spirit to be cast out. I know there are some churches out there that think that everything is a spirit. I myself have been told that I needed to be delivered from the spirit of autism. And that sort of thing is not going to be helpful. If you have an extreme aversion to being touched, you are not required to shake hands or hug anyone. You can just take a step back and politely decline, or have your friend run interference for you, explain why if you're able, or pretend you're Japanese and just bow. A church service is often an experience that can be overwhelming to the senses. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of just everything. Sitting in a crowd of people with a lot of music, a lot of people singing, perhaps loud instruments such as organs, people standing up, perhaps kneeling, and maybe the church echoes quite a bit. And the fluorescent lights, these can all affect the senses and contribute to the overload. Some suggestions I would make would be, first of all, you can sit near the back and on or near an aisle. This will help alleviate the feeling of being closed in if you're anxious about that or have claustrophobic feelings. When I was a kid, I used to sit at the back of the church a lot. I think most of the high schoolers did. The pastor dubbed us the Amen section. Another thing you might do is ask if they have an overflow area. Some churches have a place for people if they go to if they can't sit in the chairs or the pews of the main sanctuary, or if they're disabled or elderly. This image here is a part of the overflow area in the church I go to, where I often find myself, as the chairs in the main sanctuary are difficult for me to get into and out of, and they hurt my back. It may be a good idea to do this also if you have a stim or a tic that other congregants might find disruptive. Some autistic advocates might insist that the rest of the church should just deal with it. But as Christians, I believe we should always be thinking of others higher than ourselves, and I think that just deal with it is a bit of a selfish attitude. You should be thinking of, how can I make, even in an experience where you are uncomfortable, you should be thinking like with the mind of Christ, how can I make their experience more comfortable, being mindful that that's happening, that both parties are experiencing this together. During the service, as I said, there will be times when people will stand and sing, and depending on your denomination, there could also be times where there's kneeling. There may be a time also when people stand and greet each other. In more liturgical churches, this can be known as passing the peace. You're not required to do anything that you feel uncomfortable doing or are physically incapable of doing, obviously. That kind of goes without saying. It may feel as if everyone is looking at you and judging you if you don't participate in exactly the same way as everyone else. But trust me, nobody's going to think any less of you if you can't. Over time, you may become more comfortable with the participation. And alternately, over time, others will become more comfortable with you not being able to participate. Like I said, it's a two-way street here. The main thing is to take it at your own speed. And if you're uncomfortable at any time, you can feel free to just get up and walk out into the foyer or vestibule or whatever they call it in the front, the lobby, the foyer, out of the main sanctuary and take a few breaths. Or if you start off in the main sanctuary and it's just a bit too much, you can ask somebody to lead you off to that overflow area if they have one. Now, a lot of churches are pretty bright places. They got a lot of windows, colorful stained glass, and it's very pretty. But there are a lot of us who are hypersensitive to light, especially fluorescent light, and they might find it uncomfortable. Fortunately, these days, a lot of churches have like to dim the lights when the service starts. Some people have criticized such churches as putting the spotlight on the pastor or the choir as performers rather than the worship being about a corporate experience. But for people like us who are easily overstimulated, I think we might welcome dimming of the lights a little bit. When it comes to being hypersensitive to noise, many of you are no doubt already familiar with noise dampening or noise canceling earphones or headphones. These are perfectly acceptable. If someone asks what they are, you or your friend can simply explain what they're for. Or if you're there by yourself and you're not verbal, you might write this response down on a card to hand to someone. Now, a lot of people like me suffer with auditory processing disorder. And for those that don't know what this is, that's when you can hear people talking, but when there's too many people talking or too much noise going on in the background or echoing or whatever, we have trouble actually distinguishing the words, and it all sounds like one big smeared blur of sound. Auditory processing disorder. So understanding what's being said by the pastor or other worship leaders might be difficult to understand. These days, often, though, the words to songs are displayed on large overheads, and even the pastor's sermon may be. One thing I'm going to be asking my church to look into in the near future is to see if they can have someone closed caption the pastor's sermon for people like me who are hearing impaired or have trouble understand. They can hear him fine, but they can't make out what the words are that he's saying. I've also been to some churches that actually have headphone jacks built into the seats that people can plug headphones into to listen to sermons more easily. So ask if that's a thing in whatever church you go to. Now, obviously, every church is going to be different, and you may have to look around for one that suits you. But I would say look first for one that is teaching a sound doctrine, first and foremost, and then look for their accommodations. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other ideas that might help someone who's has neurodivergent issues, I'd like to hear them. And also be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me help others and gets the attention of the almighty algorithm. Anyway, that's all I have for today, and it's already gone a bit longer than I wanted. So until next time, thank you and God bless.